divine source of the universe guides my life and all my finances. All is well, all is well. The divine source of the universe guides my life and all my resources. All is well, all is well. The divine. Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, and it is time for Patiently Waiting for Nothing with Shemsu-t. I am so grateful that you're able to join us today and actually participate in a conversation that's designed to calm you down and bring you into complete relationship with your soul, your spirit, your true essence. Yeah, that's what we're here for. And my name is Rita Stewart, aka Shemsu-t. I am the owner of Master Force and also the founder of Master Force Leadership Academy. I have developed curriculum for over the last 30 years, and within the last 10 years, I've certified over 400, I should say we, because there's a team of us that do it now. We have certified over 400 life coaches throughout the world. And so on this particular podcast series, we are inviting you to listen to each of the coaches as we discuss a theme from a book that I wrote 20 years ago called Patiently Waiting for Nothing. And as we found out last week from Timothy Glenn, that book was written 20 years ago, but is for today. It's for the time that we're living in right now. So it's really perfect that we're having this discussion. And then I also want you to know that you can pick up the book on Kindle. If you actually have Amazon Prime, it's free. Otherwise, I think it's just $10, $12. And you can join us each week with a different topic. And tonight, our conversation is about freedom. And we're going to be speaking with Lela. Lela, are you there?
Yes, I am. Shemsu-t, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. It's so exciting to talk to you. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we can just talk about freedom.
All right, one of my favorite subjects.
Yes.
Actually, both of them, myself and freedom.
Right.
So I am, from a career standpoint, a marketer and a business development consultant. I am also one of the earlier renditions of that 400 life coaches that you have licensed. And yes. So I've been around you for quite some time in that regard. I specialize in helping businesses scale and take themselves to that next level to understand like what it is they need, and then also utilizing the research of what's happening in the world, not just from past days but present, come up with innovative experiential ideas and events for people to create around their services and or products.
Yeah, you do a whole lot more than that, but
well, yeah, but we don't have that much time.
It's so listening to you, right? Mm-hmm. I'm reminded of those early days when we kicked off Ignite Your Soul Connection. Do you remember that?
Oh my goodness, the first one was 3 weeks long.
15 nights. I mean, whose idea was that?
I just went along for the ride.
But that was so amazing. And I actually think we did that series for maybe 6 or 7 years. That was really good. But just hearing your voice reminds me of how much work you did around that and how it actually came about because you were willing to actually build that platform for it. So I just right now want to acknowledge you. I'm sure I have before, but I'm just so present to the greatness that was involved in that.
Oh, well, thank you. But yes, you have definitely acknowledged me, and I was honored to be a part of that. That, it was such an amazing time. So many great speakers, and it was really cool. I think it was a couple years ago when you like loaded all of the content from that time frame to be able to go back and listen to that again, and it was completely in awe because when I was a part of it, I was working it, so I was producing it. So while I'm there, I wasn't consciously, listening to what was there. I was making sure there were no errors, that, everybody was sounding good and, giving everybody the feedback they need. So you can't really be engaged in the content, but to go back and really listen to that body of work was something special.
Yes. And what she's talking about, we actually uploaded it to YouTube and also to Spreaker. So you'll be able to find it on this platform with Spreaker, and then YouTube has it as well. And thank you for saying that. That's the marketer, right? We have this body of work, right? Where is it? Lela knows, Moot may not. So Lela, you tell me, you read this book. I know you read it a long time ago. You probably refreshed yourself, but what did you think of Patiently Waiting for Nothing inside of the context that we're living in right now?
What I love about Patiently Waiting for Nothing, for me, and just actually right now, it's a great read for anyone because people have time. A month or two ago, no one had time. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody's go. But now it's a really great time to pretty much read anything. But specifically in relationships, Patiently Waiting for Nothing it's such a great foundational tool. It gives you the meat, and then you can go and explore the world for the potatoes, if you will. Yeah. And so I really enjoyed that even when I read it, in the past. And of course I refreshed, which was great because I could, read through it in an hour or so. But, it definitely gives you some really good foundational principles in which to either adjust, continue to flow in, or build your life upon.
Yeah, I like sometimes I like the term, people say waking up, awakening. Mm-hmm. And, when I was writing that book, I was not looking at it as an awakening tool. I was actually just trying to look for myself what was blocking me. Like, what's blocking me from being fully joyful. I want to be fully joyful, patiently waiting for nothing.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah. What better way if you're going to do it?
If you're going to do it, right? And I couldn't figure that out. And that's what started the writing of the book. It was almost like, let me talk to you. My mind was trying to say, let me talk to you.
I have something for you. Let me give this to you.
Right. So then inside of that, did you find yourself relating to either Miss Helen or Bobby, who were kind of like the voices of the book?
Absolutely. And actually, I can see a little bit of myself on both ends because, using the term awakening, it happens in stages, right? Yes. So there was a part of my life where I was absolutely Bobby, working, climbing the corporate ladder, working ridiculous number of hours, knowing that there's something else out there for me, but not clear on what that something else is. Mm-hmm. And so, being who I am, I just can't let sleeping dogs lie. I got to figure out what that is because it's just going to keep nudging me. And so started doing my own research around, just starting with basic self-help. And then, when you ask the universe, God, whomever you consider your higher deity, for information, it's kind of that when the student is ready, a teacher will come. And so all of this knowledge just began to come to me by way of books and audio books and conferences. And so, that's where I began to acquire some of that information that Miss Helen gets to talking about, within the lessons that she had learned throughout her life.
Yes. And that's so perfect too, Lela, because I love being able to say that you and I actually met on Facebook as well, didn't we?
Indeed, we did. You haven't been able to get rid of me since.
I don't want to, okay? But it's so interesting that just about every speaker has come from my connection, and I had no idea that was how the universe was going to use that tool. Isn't that amazing?
It is. In fact, that is one of the things, going back to my work in the world, I tell clients, these tools are what you make of them. People are like, oh, well, social media is this and it's that. No, it's what you make of it.
Yes.
You are the conduit, and the message and the words and, what you put out there, that's on you. And you get back what you put out. So case in point, you've licensed over 400 certified, life coaches at this point, and not to say that every single one of them came from Facebook, but, the foundation of those relationships, many of them came from this space.
Yeah, many of them came from, that space, and then from people who became life coaches, actually invited other people in, because we don't do the typical of course, here I have the greatest marketer who is always telling me I could do it, right? But we don't do your typical marketing.
No.
But, and you know why? Because it's not for everyone,
Well, there's something to be said, for grassroots marketing as well. And I'm also, for the reality is that how it is marketed, there is something to networking, right?
Yes.
And Facebook is a network platform, if you will. And so to that point, you utilize the platform for what it was. And so what happens with the network, it continues to expand beyond those initial contacts, correct?
Yes.
So that's what's happened here. So no, it's definitely not for everyone. But that's okay. Nothing is. When you're building a brand,
yes.
It's not for everybody. You have a target demographic, and those people come to you for what it is you have. Sometimes you get some secondary or some tertiary, but your target is who you're focused on.
Yeah, that's true. And I've always asked the universe to, have people find me that need me, and I'm appreciative of the work, So thank you for saying that. So tonight we are discussing one of your favorite subjects. I think you have a blog called Freedom's Journey, or
Oh yeah, that was an interesting 2 years in my life.
Yes. And so I didn't hesitate when I was like, who's going to talk about freedom? Oh yeah, Lela, of course. You've taught me how to jump airplanes, buses, cars, trains. Where we going?
At a snowflake's notice.
Very right. Always have a bag packed. And I thought I was there already before I met you, right? So tell me, what is it about freedom? Actually, before you get to that, tell me, before you discovered your own awareness of that, how were you?
For me, getting to understanding, like, I guess, my truth around freedom, it was a little bit of either running or lashing out, because I wanted a certain level of freedom that life didn't afford me, not knowing that I had the power to have that freedom anywhere I was, right? Mm-hmm. With whomever I want. But because I didn't know that, it was either lashing out at those that I felt were infringing upon my freedom, or running away, if you will, from anything that I thought was inhibiting said freedom.
And so after so much running, I mean, because there's no freedom in running.
Mm-mm. Well, it feels like it sometimes, but
it's kind of pretentious, isn't it? Yeah. It's kind of pretentious, right?
Yes, absolutely. Depending on where you run into.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit hole right there.
I bet you don't.
But so I can hear that before you discovered this ability within yourself to ground yourself in your own freedom, you actually thought it was something outside of you that you had to escape from where you were to get to.
Oh, absolutely. It was a little somewhere between victimization, and just lack of knowledge, because nobody tells you that you really call the shots. We as a society are in a space where it's like, oh, all of these predefined or predetermined labels and, all of these predetermined definitions of those labels, right?
Yeah.
And so there's nothing that tells you that control or that freedom is within you and not without,
Yeah, that's really good. Because I think I always too thought that you had to ask permission from somebody before you did something, right? Until all of a sudden you look around and there's no one to ask but yourself.
Either permission or receiving approval, So yeah. I grew up in a family where approval was a big thing, know?
Yeah.
And so I don't even think it was a conscious big thing, but we got paid for grades. I got paid for long hair. I got paid, you know what I'm saying? So you're always looking outward for someone else's approval of what it is you are doing. I mean, yeah, that can stagnate freedom in a New York minute. And so that's something that you're conditioned into over time. And so you don't know anything else. And eventually, like I said, you start getting that nagging that there is something else and that it's okay. And so you kind of figure out what that looks like for you.
Yeah, you just pointed to something that our educational system does. That whole piece about punishment and reward. I mean, it is ingrained from, actually, parents probably started with their children, but it's the way to put constraints and make children do exactly what you say. If you do what I say, I'll reward you. Like you said, you got paid for grades and, you can achieve. So you know how to achieve for the money, right?
Yeah.
Right. Or you get punished if you don't do what I say. And that's where you get the labeling.
Oh yeah, and also like I come from a really large family, and so it wasn't even just the money side of it; it was the acknowledgement.
Good girl.
When you are the oldest of 29 grandkids, when somebody says your name, you get excited because it's not malicious. No. I don't think. I think it's just you get lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? There's so many of us,
Yeah.
and so when someone does something great, and I know where I feel in the hierarchy, so I couldn't imagine some of my cousins who may have not even, registered, if you will, or didn't register as much on it because I'm an overachiever. I'm going to get the A's. I'm going to make the most money. I'm going, you know what I mean? That was like ingrained into me, at a very early age because I sought that attention. I wanted to be acknowledged.
Yes. And you knew how to do it. Now, you knew how to do that, but you had no idea you were shackling yourself.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, literally, I can't remember a time where it wasn't, which was interesting. Let me say this. I can't remember a time where it wasn't about pleasing other people, but I was deliberate when raising my own kids to not have them. The dichotomy is hysterical, but I was really deliberate about not having them look up to anyone for, not even me and their dad, for approval. Like that was a huge part of my parenting. Like, do not look to me for approval.
Yeah.
Use your own moral code. How did that feel to you?
Yeah.
So even though I didn't necessarily know I had it for myself, I wanted to create it for them.
Yeah, that's great. I actually did the same thing too. I wanted my children to have the freedom to choose. Although sometimes, they get mad at me. I just want you to tell me what to do. No.
I'll tell you, but my favorite words I borrowed from my grandmother: "You're grown, so you can do what you want to do."
I had a dream the other night that I was telling somebody, listen, I have heard Lela's grandmother say many a times, I do not, from Lela, what is it? I do not have time for fools or something like that.
I don't suffer fools. She don't suffer fools. That's my great grandmama too. Now, she didn't suffer fools. Bertha, Did not suffer fools.
Lela, I'm in a dream telling somebody this. Now, Lela has said a number of times that her grandmother told her she doesn't suffer fools, and I want you to know I don't either.
That's good.
Right? I woke up laughing. I forgot. I never told you that, but that was just the funniest thing to me, right? So now you created freedom in your own life. What does that look and feel like today?
Oh my goodness. For me, freedom came with boundaries.
Mm.
I had to construct some boundaries. And I had to be, one of my favorite quotes that I created is that no is a full sentence with a period.
Yes.
And that was enough. And so, again, being the oldest, we're tied, especially in the time that I was born, that we were responsible for not only ourselves, but for everyone else. And it took something for me to transition out of worrying about everybody else and making sure everyone else had what they needed, and to not only worry about myself and what I needed, but to learn what I needed. Because when you're so external with your energy and working to take care of everybody else, you don't even know what you need. Sometimes you know you need something, but you have zero idea of what that looks like. And so, on my way to discovering freedom, that was a huge part of, that was a huge stage for me, just understanding what that looked like.
Yeah, you just said a mouthful. When you're taking care of other people, you don't even know what you need.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
And especially, women. I know that men have that too, because I know a lot of men who are givers and carers and nurturers, that kind of thing. But women, inside of the context of family and children and work, and then elder parents or whatever, they can just go all day.
Oh, yeah. I think in the beginning, it started off when I started, discovering what it was I needed. I thought it was, things that was materialism, right? Because a girl loves her shoes.
Okay.
Both heels and sneakers, I'm all about. But then it became, okay, that's fine, but suitcases get heavy and I travel.
Yes.
And so I don't really want a lot of stuff anymore. And so, stuff started to feel empty. And so, you acknowledge right away, well, that's not freedom, because stuff also, I realized, had me bound to spaces,
Yes.
Oh, I have this TV, I have this couch and all of this, just a lot of stuff.
1,000 books.
Yeah. Oh, I did have 1,000 books. The universe cleared that one up for me, though.
Right.
But so yeah, you get clear, like that's not freedom. That's only, the ability to buy it as a freedom, but not necessarily buying it all. In fact, that becomes more chains, if you will.
Yeah, we don't realize that though, because we're actually taught the value of who we are is based on the stuff that we have. Mm-hmm. So we look around and we say, oh, I have this, and that means that I'm worthy of something, when actually you know your worth, when you know your true, authentic worth, when there is nothing but you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's what I had to get to, nothing but me. Mm-hmm. I literally departed from my marriage at that time. I got on a plane and I flew west, mm-hmm. and had some experiences that I had never had in life, or even thought that I could have had in life. Whether it be in the entertainment world in which I worked, or just literally exploring this blue ball that we're spinning around on at light speed. It was those experiences that actually helped me discover freedom.
Yeah, and it actually probably showed you what you've been missing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What I had been missing was experiencing life, creating my own rules around life, and then being flexible enough to change those if they no longer serve me. And being okay with that, like not looking externally for anything.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing outside of me that can create everything that makes me is internal. I don't like me leaving corporate America and working for myself in 2008. That's something that's done necessarily in my family. So in the nominee, what she gonna do? She gonna starve?
Right. But she didn't me cleaning me either.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's my family.
Don't vacuum by your hair.
Don't get comfortable here.
But so definitely that eye-opening moment when you realize that you create rules. And all those, like I said, those predetermined labels and those predetermined definitions of those labels, whether it's mother or wife or whatever you decide your career path is, those are predetermined. And it is those of us who are brave enough, or scared enough sometimes, innovative enough to just, kind of grab their life, you know what I mean, by the direction that you want to go, and never being so fixed that you're not questioning it.
Yeah, that, being fixed, I think, it goes back to the whole construct of the punishment and reward system, and being pleasing and actually making other people feel good and not what you need. And it's like, oh, that's what satisfies me, satisfying other people. But as you get older, right, or experience, you realize, but wait a minute, where am I in this equation?
Oh my goodness, yes. And there is there's how do you say, pleasure, and that might not be the right word, I'm gonna go with it. From being needed.
Yeah.
You know? And for me, it was a pleasure in the beginning, and then I had to teach my family about Google. Because
you're not Google any longer.
I was done being Google, and while I may hold wealth knowledge, I was tired of being, like, I remember being in the car, and this was probably 2009, 2010, and one little cousin called me, and I lived on West Coast at this time, and she called me to ask me fall post in Chicago. That's how bad it got.
Did you look at the phone?
Oh, goodness. I was like, do you not have internet? Like,
right. Wow.
I'm sure you to push that.
And what you're pointing to is that once we decide to take on our own freedom, the responsibility that looks like, we have to literally retrain everyone else around us.
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of, I think, that beauty of the ability to rewrite our story. Yes. Which I had so many people only rewrite the words in your mind. I know you have that. Imagine if you.
They've asked that.
She's the part of the machine, and we have to do that. We have to, because it's easy to slide back and be who we were if you aren't grounded in who you are.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, and it's similar with how we're all living now. We're asked to stay in our houses, stay quarantined, so that we can all, get past this CV thing going on, right? Mm-hmm. How do you address your own freedom inside of that?
One of the things that I found, even through my travels, because I did a lot of traveling by myself, was the freedom in silence and in peace. Mm. And so the freedom in not needing to be entertained. Mm-hmm. And so we are, as a society, a societal norm, people who enjoy being entertained. Yeah. But eventually you watched all Netflix you can watch, you've read all the books you can read. Yeah. And at the end of the day, there's only going to be you. And so it is an opportunity for us to truly begin to love ourselves and get to know ourselves outside of trying to escape through entertainment or others.
Yes. That's really great, Lela. I know there are days when I don't even remember we're in the quarantine.
Exactly. Like, oh, okay. I don't keep up with days of the week anyway. So.
Anyway, right? I don't know. Oh, I know what I have to do today. And, I pretty much have been doing the same thing, with the exception of not being able to go to my favorite coffee shop to work.
Oh yeah, I can hear that. Yeah. Well, for me, it's not being able to see, the water, so that's a challenge for me, because eventually, I love to go sit by a body of water. Yeah. And even if I'm just working and a little bit of walking, maybe some meditate, so that piece tends to be, but I have mountains, so I'm not mad.
Well, yeah, and I think I heard today where I was out, someone said they were opening up the national park, so
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Right?
Yeah,
we may be able, to get to do that soon. Who knows, right?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So what I hear you saying then is that freedom is more a state of mind than a condition of circumstances.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, 150%. I think, there's one thing to know freedom for yourself, but for me, it was helping actually my husband understand freedom. So as we were going through that space of rekindling our marriage and making a decision on what was next for us, we had to discover freedom for what that looked like within our marriage.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And that was big, because, when it comes to any relationship, whether it's parenting or being in a relationship with a significant other, we have these rules and these things that society has said, this is how this goes and this is what it looks like. But who said, you know what I mean? Who are
Yeah.
they to tell me what my relationship gets to look like,
Right.
And so we daily get to redefine and get to define and get to hold each other accountable to the freedoms that we have still for ourselves, and have this intra-dependent relationship, where we're choosing to share our life experiences with each other, as opposed to this forced kind of situation, or these forced rules that were indoctrinated way before we even made it to this planet.
That's beautiful, Lela, and that's very powerful, because we keep holding on to traditions that don't feed our souls,
Mm-hmm.
And we get caught up in them, and then we look around and no one has grown except for a part.
Yep. Exactly.
And you're saying on a daily basis, we look to see, what does freedom look like inside of us being, not codependent, but interdependent on each other. We're choosing.
Absolutely.
Every day. That's powerful. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely a major step for us. And then, it allowed me to do that same thing, because it's like, oh wait, it was that dawning of the light, if you will, when it's like, hold up, well, if that's in marriage, what about in my career? How am I picking and choosing my clients? Am I doing it just based upon, they're going to write me this size check versus that size check? Or am I really doing the work that I'm passionate about with people who I like? And so I was able to shift my business in that direction as well.
And that's what you call being creative. Okay, we talk about that next week with Tanya, but that's powerful. You chose what you wanted, and then you shifted and created the clients, and they just showed up. Or they're continuing to show up.
They're continuing to show up, absolutely. Every week is another blessing. And, I've been blessed that I would say even before that understanding to pretty much 95% of my clients have been referrals. And then, but now I have this totally different caliber of client. And, these are the light workers. These are those who are looking to bring light to our planet, right?
Yes.
Looking to do something different here in our space. And it's not just even for them about the monetization, but also for them to be able to spread a good word, to invite one of my clients or possibly soon to be clients. She used this word to reintroduce innocence.
Oh, yes.
To our world. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing. And it is something that is lost even on our youth, that innocence.
Oh my goodness. Yes. That is powerful. I love that. I always say that all the time. I love holding on to my innocence and my naivete and whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes something to hold on to it in a world that is just constantly, cynical.
Oh yeah.
You do what I tell you to do. Do you hear me?
That's not freedom. Yeah, I mean that's definitely like the most beautiful thing. And I think, to give credit to my childhood in that regard, I think that is kind of what paved the path to help me understand that there was some freedom there. Growing up in my grandmother's house, she had this bookshelf that to me was, if you've ever seen Beauty and the Beast, Bill's library. To me, that was Bill's it was my library as a youth. And I mean, there was so much information on that bookshelf. And I just remember as early as I could read, which was probably somewhere between 4 and 5, just taking books off of that shelf and reading and diving in. And so it gave me, if you will, a little bit of life experience by way of wonderment and how do you say, like kind of dreamy, imaginative.
Adventure, yes.
Yeah, so I went to countries and cities some of them I still haven't seen to this day by way of books, so that in my youth probably was closer to the freedom that I had during that time. And so I think that kind of set the lay of the land, that there was something else out there more than what I had allowed myself to have.
Oh, that's beautiful. Because books, they provide such a getaway as well. You can sit and read a book and, look up, it's dinner time or everybody's sleep or, but you've been
like,
to Paris, London, right.
I've been to pyramids,
right.
and I was in Santorini and Greece.
Come on.
I've seen love affairs. I saw wars. I love a good book.
Now, one of the things that I've heard you allude to a little bit is inside of freedom, in order to actually acquire that for yourself, there has to be something given to structure. What does that actually look like for you?
Oh, absolutely. I think, to the point, structure are those boundaries. It is knowing what's okay for you and what doesn't work for you, right? And being clear enough to state that to others and to create that around yourself. And so, much like I was saying, when acquiring new clients, I had to clearly define what it was that I wanted to do, number one, for those clients, because while I can do a number of things, what is it that I enjoy? What will keep me engaged?
Yes.
What will bring me joy at the end of this project, right? And so those are the things that I do now. And then also, who will I engage? Who would I like to see? What does my ideal client look like? And really drawing that out for myself and looking and foreseeing what the outcomes of those relationships look like. I personally prefer clients that I can be personable with,
yes,
and really develop real relationships with, and not have a problem with them. When you really love what someone does and what they're bringing to the world, if they picked up the phone and called me, I'm not like, after our engagement is done, I don't feel bothered. I'm like, how can I help you? Like, I'm giving of self. Though that was where the structure came in for me, really being clear about what it was I wanted, in the boundaries of life. How much will I allow, and how much will I give, and how much do I reserve for myself, and where is that time for myself? And so all of those needed, now granted, I stay flexible in them, but I needed to define that, because when it was just all over the place, I ended up with the short end of the stick.
Say more about that.
Well, it goes back to, if anyone can pick up the call and I'm readily accessible to anyone and everyone, then I'm inundated with phone calls. I never get a chance to have time for myself. And that time for myself is a part of my freedom. That is, that's who I am. I have to have that time when I'm off the grid. And it is acceptable. Some of my nearest and dearest friends don't take it personal when I go off the grid and won't answer my phone for 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. And those that do, that's on them. And I had to become okay with that. But yeah, that for me, I think that played the largest role in developing that structure. Like really being clear on the boundaries that that you set and you allow other people to do, because if you don't, people are going to do as much as you allow them to do.
You just outlined freedom to choose, freedom to create, freedom to be, freedom to dream, and freedom to celebrate. All inside of you. That's powerful, Lela.
Yeah, it took some work, but I'm here.
Well, and besides that, it's a huge responsibility, because you actually have to take responsibility for those boundaries, those structures, and anything that, doesn't work, you get to say.
Absolutely. And be okay with it, regardless of what anything outside of me the response is. You're not liking my freedom has nothing to do with me.
Exactly.
And nor am I looking to you for your like.
And that's vice versa. So you obviously have to give those around you that type of freedom. And
absolutely,
yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you can't expect anything that you don't allow.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It just as well as it's okay for me to say no, it's okay for someone to say no with me. In fact, that used to be a frustration of mine. I would ask someone for something and they would say yes, or they would, let me get back to you. Instead of just saying, hey, that doesn't work for me at this time, or just straight up, no, I can take it, I'm a big girl.
Right.
They would go around it. And then I realized that mirror work, right?
Yeah.
Where I would do the same thing in my life.
Yeah.
As a saying, I don't want this project.
Yes.
Let me refer you to somebody else. I would take it on, and then I'd
suffer through it.
Pardon my French, half-ass my way through it. Absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you what I have to give you. I'm gonna meet the credentials of this contract. And there was a point in my life, not even that, I will give you your money back, which is so horrible. Looking back now, that is such a horrible place to be. Yeah. But it was because I took on something that I had zero desire to be bothered with.
Yeah, that's, one of my favorite phrases to keep my freedom is, that's not good use of my time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've used that one.
Yes.
I borrowed that one from you.
Anytime, use it anytime, but people are like, no, thank you. That's not good use of my time. And they're looking at me like, you got to be kidding.
But it takes something to understand that it's okay to say that,
yes.
regardless of what someone else's interpretation of it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that takes courage. That also takes courage, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and not faux courage either, real courage.
And what did you call it? Faux
courage.
The FAUX.
FAUX, you got it. No faux courage. It's the real deal.
So now looking at patiently waiting enough for nothing in the freedom area, did you have any takeaways from that section?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so it was so interesting because when I first read it, and even going back and reread it, it said that I'm going to read a small segment from it. One of my favorites were the questions when you introed, who can ask me to surrender my treasures for freedom? Who can ask me to give up what others think? Who can tell me what I deserve or do not deserve? Like that, that is the foundation of everything that I built for myself, like in the sense of understanding freedom, and also to the point you made a moment ago, giving freedom to others.
Yes. Who am I to tell people what to do?
Yeah. Do what you want to do.
Do what you want to do. And the circumstances that come along with that.
Absolutely. Whatever it looks like on the other end, that is by your choice as well.
Wow. That's really good.
And all of it is okay.
And all of it is okay. And I actually, you said early on that what was missing for you was experiencing life. And that's what you had to allow yourself so that you could feel and discover what freedom felt like within you. You had to actually experience that.
Oh, not at all. Everything. I was a young mother. Yeah. I was married early, even before being a young mother. Like I said, I'm the oldest child, the oldest grandchild. So life was all about responsibilities of others to others for me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And where it wasn't a responsibility, it was the people pleasing side. Okay, I'm a young mother. I got to do something to make everybody proud of me, right?
Yes.
So not only am I going to work in corporate America, but I'm going to go to college at the same time and raise kids and be a wife and, keep home. And it was just all of that. So there, by my own indoctrination, there was no freedom in that.
Wow. That was actually, a lot of bondage.
So much bondage. Oh my goodness. So much bondage. And, I would, it's very rare that we get to get those lessons young, but, having my children young and going through that at a young age allows me to sit here now, in my early 40s and still be okay,
Yeah.
and still have a whole life to continue having more experience.
That you get to create.
Yes.
Yes. Inside of. Yeah, what's that quote for? Because this is a good time, because this is really what you've done. What is the quote for this section?
This section's quote is, I release all self-imposed limitations and constraints.
Yeah. And
Yes.
that's exactly, I mean, just imagine when you're looking back, you know, and it seems like we've lived many lifetimes in this lifetime.
Oh my goodness, yes. I think in preparing for this earlier today, I said awakening happens in so many stages.
Yeah.
And just looking through the various stages of my life where, you know, I just started getting that much closer to being free. Right?
Yeah.
And so, that was another quote from the book, from that section specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom is the sweetness of being considered a nobody. Coming from a space where being somebody was very important from a very young child, when I decided that it was okay to be in a space and no one know my name.
Girl.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, I mean,
when I tell you, I don't want you to know me. I am so happy you don't.
Oh my goodness. I love my anonymity. It's like people don't have a clue who I am. And I am so grateful because I can get so much done, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm like, I am definitely not a Cheers person. I don't want to go where everybody knows my name. I want to go where nobody knows me and I can sit there. It was at one point, being a marketer, I started, and it might sound a little pretentious, but I don't care.
Okay.
I started equating it, being a marketer, especially in the early, like 2010, 2015, somewhere up in there, to being a doctor. Because the minute anybody who had any entrepreneur or owned a business, or they heard you were a marketer, everybody wants to know what should they do for their business. Could you look at this? It was like, you know how you see a doctor, they go into a party,
yeah,
and they're like, I have this spot right here. Could you look at it? No, I cannot look at that for you.
Well, then, but then you became a life coach, Moot. I mean, come on now, that's just as bad.
Oh my goodness, the combination. I don't even really tell that part.
No, right. You just use it.
I utilize that within the relationships that I have, but it's not advertised.
That's right. I don't want anybody to know.
But I'll just sing you a book here.
People say, what do you do? Oh, I'm a writer today. It depends on the day of the week, right?
I research.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one, the freedom to be nobody.
Mm-hmm. That right there, poignant, stood out like a sore thumb, especially after my time in entertainment where like everybody was clamoring, you know what I mean, to be in my space. It was beautiful to literally chop off all the hair, take off the makeup, throw the heels in the closet, throw on some sneakers and leggings and not be seen.
Right. Right. And go to the beach and nobody know who you are.
I mean, I remember coming home to Chicago and sitting with you and someone approached us who I had been in in-depth conversation with multiple times, introduced themselves to me, and I was like, yes.
I remember that. Was that when we were at an event downtown?
I feel like yes.
I remember that. I was like,
winning.
Oh, wow.
And I just went right along with it. Yeah, let me.
I think they eventually came around, though, didn't they?
I can't recall, but because you know I'm really good for phasing out a conversation. Like, oh, you don't know me? Good, I'm good.
That means you don't know me, right? Let's see.
Exactly, because then that introduces a whole nother level of conversation. So it was an enjoyable moment to not be recognized.
Yeah. And there's some freedom. There's some freedom in that to actually, because when you know who you are, you don't have to make sure everyone else knows.
I don't even care if everyone else knows.
Yeah, they don't.
There was a point I remember, and I had this conversation with my daughter. I was like, there is a point in your youth where you say, I don't care, I don't give a you know what. And then there's a moment when you really live it. And when you really live it, you don't have to make that announcement all the time.
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's like the I'm grown announcement. When you're really grown, you don't need to announce.
No one else needs to know. They will be able to tell by the way you act.
Exactly. They shall know you've got your fruit.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah.
When I was looking over this chapter, the book. So in each chapter, there's a book at the end that I recommend because people want to know more. This book was designed as a bathroom companion, so that you can get inspired. Just reading a couple of pages and you're good, right?
Absolutely.
So, but if you wanted to deep dive, because some of us do, the book that was attached to this chapter was Many Lives, Many Masters. Was that the one?
Messages from Masters.
Messages from the Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. And he literally gives a full blown out description of how his life changed. And he actually started doing a past life regression work.
Mm-hmm.
And that opened up so much for me when I started doing past life regression, because I really got to see that I don't have to get it all done in this life. I didn't get it all done in the last life or the other lives that I've lived. What are the things that I'm learning? So that whole conversation that we do about recapitulation in our coaching work,
yes.
you get to do that in this lifetime. And that actually grants us a sense of freedom because we're not trying to get it all done.
Yeah, exactly. And the other side of that freedom, of course, I'm a true believer. And it took something. It took a couple of deaths in my life to understand that death is not the end; it's the beginning. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
But in addition to what needs to be done, is still that conversation, that freedom around who says, you know what I mean? It needs to be done. We get to decide in this lifetime and everyone beyond it. Because if we don't do it, trust and believe the work of the universe will be done.
It will be done. And all of us have been given a blueprint about what we agreed to get done here.
Absolutely.
And when we tap into our soul work, we discover that. No one has to make us do it. It's the gift. I mean, it's so natural.
Absolutely.
And it pours out of us too.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how you don't, once you get outside of who and what the world says you are, that gift flows from you like water.
That's so true. So, Lela, what are you currently working on right now that people can engage with you? You're a certified life coach, but you're also a marketing genius in my world. And, other people may want to, find out how you can assist them. How can they engage with you?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of the work that I am doing right now is more so as opposed to just being a consultant, a lot of coaching. So as opposed to catching fish for people, teaching them to fish, providing people with the necessary resources to be successful in their respective industries. And so, as I said, I think it was somewhere within this call that, I'm working with a lot of light workers. So yes. People who are looking to heal the world, heal themselves, and just, bring back a touch of innocence to this planet that we're living in. And so as far as getting in touch with me, I'm on most social media platforms as the brand Lela. And that's typically how, in my DM by way of someone, if someone led you to this podcast that knew me, they can refer you over or, get you in contact with me. I am so not formal in that space. There's no phone number. There's it's really been that for me. And those organic relationships have been amazing. But I am looking at some point, probably closer to the summer, to put out some coursework for those business owners or startups that just need a little more foundation and understanding. Like, okay, yeah, I use social media, but how do I use these tools? Or, what type of grassroots or guerrilla marketing can I do because I have a limited budget? And so really helping people get through that. And then also, my favorite conversation around branding itself, what that looks like to create. So because I know and I believe branding to be a promise and not what it's being taught. That word brand is tossed around so much as though it's an actual service or product. It's not. It's the promise about your service or product, your service or product. And so teaching that to people so that they can create consistency within their brand in order to be more successful.
Yeah, that well, and I know that works. I mean, you've helped me with all of my 100 brands.
They're a handful, but we got it.
Yeah, he's like, but Boo, they all do this. I said, oh, good.
They still go back under that umbrella.
Right. I keep the promise.
Yes, keep the promise.
We're doing soul work. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And, I just want everyone to know that we do post the replay regularly from this podcast on our Facebook page, which is called Patiently Waiting for Nothing. And then you can also, again, get the book on Kindle. We have a Patiently Waiting for Nothing course that will be announced probably in the fall. We think that people do really good work in the fall. I don't know. Now we have to look at this because this is a different energy now.
That sounds like this. Ain't nobody going nowhere. And even when they go somewhere, they might not want to go.
They may not want to go.
Everybody's sitting tight waiting for the first two waves.
Oh my goodness. What's going to really happen? Exactly. And then I just want to ask those of you who are listening to this podcast, please share it with others. And then also, we have mugs and T-shirts that would really make a difference in supporting the work that we do. A lot of the work and courses that we offer, we try to establish a scholarship fund. So every time someone purchases a course, we also look to scholarship someone who may not normally be able to afford it. So when you purchase mugs or T-shirts, we actually do have that funds go back into the work and have other people move along. I don't think we have enough life coaches, and especially not enough Master Force life coaches.
Absolutely not. The more the merrier.
The more, my vision is to have a Master Force life coach at every dinner table.
And there you have it. We have a couple at ours every night.
Yes. Well, imagine the mental health. I mean, we really
absolutely.
Make a difference. No one has to melt down unless they're choosing to.
Absolutely. And how you choose to deal with somebody's meltdown is important as well.
That's right. And then next week, guys, we're going to be talking to another amazing Master Force Life Coach, Tanya Smith, and we're discussing affirm and create. I mean, Lela, you see how they just kind of flow, don't they?
Such
From
a
freedom
flow. Absolutely.
to affirm.
You got your freedom, now you can affirm and create.
Come on. And I'm telling you, that's the universe. I had no idea that was going to flow like that. I love it. So, Lela, I just want to thank you again. And you've really given us a lot to chew on. I love that whole thing, the freedom to choose, the freedom to create, the freedom to be, the freedom to dream, the freedom to celebrate. All of that was highlighted in your conversation tonight. And, it's my hope that people got something out of it that they can use right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm so grateful to be here. And as always, it is a pleasure to spend time with you.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope you guys join us next week for another edition of Patiently Waiting for Nothing. In the meantime, peace.
Peace.
The divine source of the universe guides my life and all my finances. All is well, all is well. The divine source of the universe guides my life and all my resources. All is well.